back and testing. Oh my, it's gonna be ground for testing. Let's record on our YouTube. Here is Donald Trump, and let's see what's going on. So it's happening in Iran. Alright, let's see what's Minnesota and Abu Ubaidah. Let's even get a nice short video for our testing. Okay. Ooh.
Story we are.
Forget all the jacobats and all the Jezebel and make sure your mommy okay. Sorry, I was good, boy. In this place, certain men should hide their face. The way they treat their mother is a disgrace. They neglect your lady for donkey. And you've been recording for the world to hear you, and you passing if your boxer. And if you're recording testing, and you passing if your boxer. Way. Yeah. Well, it sounds good, boy. Yes, we are testing. Oh my finger and chips. Let's see what we got on.
Are joined by Rami Khouri. He is a distinguished public policy fellow at the American University of Beirut. Thank you so much for being with us on the program, Rami. I want to get your main takeaways from that meeting today. What
President has now Trump set for the implementation of the rest of the ceasefire deal?
Well, Afnan, this is really an extraordinary spectacle that we witnessed today. It captures in one moment of several hours all of the main techniques that the Western colonial governments historically, the British, the French, and now the Americans, and the Israeli government and Zionist movements before the Israeli government, that they all used over the past century. They exaggerate issues. They talk nice talk about peace and love and construction. They deceive the people who are interested to follow the details. They don't give any precise details. They make generalities, statements that are generalities without any precision about what's actually going to happen. And by and large, they ignore the Palestinians about whom, this is all about. We're talking about Gaza and Palestine, and the Gazans and Palestinians are nowhere to be seen in this picture. And at the same time, there's all kinds of carpetbaggers lining up in England and the United States and around the Arab region to go in and make money. And the Israelis are recruiting thugs and gangs and criminals all over Palestine to be their associates. I mean, this is quite extraordinary. And Trump talks about this in make-believe terms, that the Board of Peace is coming, the Technocratic Committee is going to be named, that reconstruction is going to happen, no discussion of funding, of responsibility, no discussion of what actual power the stabilization force will have. So it was really an extraordinary performance, and it's in keeping with what's happened in the last century, and certainly in the last 30, 40 years, and which has brought us to the point where both the Israelis and the Americans at their top level meetings are talking about joint military action against Iran and Lebanon and Yemen, and the conflict, the military conflicts, are expanding across the region. And now you're getting things like the Israelis want to recognize Somaliland, so you're getting into the Horn of Africa, destabilizing situations there. So these are my quick general thoughts about what we saw today. It was not unusual. It was in keeping with the tradition that we've experienced in the last several decades, but particularly in the last 2 years and 2 months since the American-enabled Israeli genocide in Gaza. This is what we see, a fairy tale land wishful thinking and nice promises, and people patting each other on the back, and Israel's going to give the Israel Prize to Trump, and the Western media largely ignores these realities, and goes along with the charade.
As you mentioned, there's a lack of Palestinian voices in this whole process, and I think that in this context, the role that the mediating partners and Arab nations will play is crucial. What position do you think that they should take to safeguard the interests of Palestinians?
Well, I think this is actually one of the few new, novel, and significant developments that we've seen, which is countries like Turkey, Egypt, Qatar, maybe Indonesia, Pakistan, Jordan, others, countries that are Arab majority or Muslim majority countries that are really out for the best interests of both the Israelis and the Palestinians. They want equal rights for both people. They want the rule of law. They want international standards to be applied. They're not pro-Palestinian. They're pro-justice for everybody in the land of Israel and Palestine. And I thought that their involvement is significant and could play a role. We still don't know behind the scenes what they're doing. There seems to be one area where they may have had a role, or maybe two areas, which one is to downgrade the role of Tony Blair. Originally, he was going to be the big chief who runs the whole thing. He's now downgraded to probably heading the technical committee of the Board of Peace. If that happens, even he may not get that. But the other area that's significant is it seems that the pressures and the talks that Turkey and Qatar and Egypt have had, and maybe the Saudis behind the scenes, the talks they've had with the U.S. seems to have pushed the U.S. to the point where they'll agree to start the technocratic governance committee in Gaza, which is made up of Palestinians. Mm-hmm. They'll allow that to start working to help improve people's lives and conditions before the full international stabilization force is in place, which may never happen, but we'll see. So the role of these countries as monitors of the implementation of the ceasefires and as substantive actors in the discussions to make sure that any movement forward is reasonably fair to both sides. What's happened so far in the UN resolution and the plan that Trump and Netanyahu announced months ago, we've had purely a pro-Israeli effort. Right. 95%. Now what they're trying to do, these countries, is to balance it out so that the Palestinians get some justice, and that may or may not happen. We don't know if other countries will join this.
Okay, Rami Khouri, thank you so much for being with us here on TRT World and sharing that insight with us.
Let's speak to Miko Peled, an Israeli activist and author of The General's Son, and he joins us live now from Washington, D.C. Thank you for speaking to us here at Al Jazeera, Miko. Now, you're an advocate for Palestinian rights, and even though you are in the minority of Israelis that say rejecting Zionism, do you think, under this current ceasefire deal and the 20-point Trump plan, that Palestinians are any closer to having their basic rights accomplished, or even a roadmap to ending Israel's occupation?